Can you believe Mario's been hosting parties for more than 15 years? But does he still have what it takes, or is it starting to get a little stale? Well, Mario Party 10 attempts to breathe new life into the party scene by featuring 3 very different ways of playing. There's Mario Party mode, which follows in the same footsteps as Mario Party 9, Bowser Party, in which one player plays as Bowser and attempts to take out the other 4 players, and Amiibo Party, which is a throwback to how the Mario Party series used to play. Although in order to play it, you do need one of the supported Amiibo. Okay, so let's get started with the game's namesake, Mario Party mode, in which you and 3 others ride in the car together as a group, taking turns as the vehicle's captain in an effort to be the one with the most stars by the end of the board. Now as captain, you assume full responsibility for everything that happens on your watch, including which type of dice to roll, which direction to take, as well as reaping whatever rewards or pitfalls that happen during your turn. But here's the thing. I just made it sound far more exciting than I actually found it to be, and that's largely due to how simple the Mario Party mode really is, as there's really much for you to do on your turn. I mean, the boards are largely linear with only the occasional alternate path, and even when you do have some kind of choice to make, the fact that you're only in control 1/4 of the time means it's nearly impossible to play strategically beyond the next move. Whereas in the older Mario parties, I was often planning ahead for the next dozen or so turns. So as a result, I found the board game portion to be almost entirely random and arbitrary. Which means that the only part of this mode where I felt I truly had some kind of meaningful input is in the minigames. And to the mode's credit, the minigames do seem to appear more frequently than they did in Mario Party 9. Now as for the minigames themselves, well they're your typical Mario Party fare. Some are quite fun, like Rapid River Race, where it's a constant struggle between going faster at the risk of hitting more obstacles, whereas others are kind of lame, like Goomba Gallop, where you're counting Goombas. Now historically, the board game aspect of Mario Party are what gave the minigames meaning. After all, winning the minigames were what allowed you to have success out on the board, which lent each minigame a fair amount of tension. But because the board game this time around is so random and seemingly arbitrary, that, in turn, makes the minigames less exciting too, because the results don't really matter that much. And to top it off, not only are there slightly fewer minigames this time around as compared to Mario Party 9, but there are fewer boards too, with only 5 as opposed to 7. Okay, now with all that being said, I didn't hate the Mario Party mode. Believe it or not, I actually did have some dumb fun while playing it. But emphasis on dumb. Because there's only so many times I can play a game which neither strategy nor skill really matter before it grows really dull and repetitive. But thankfully, Mario Party 10 switches things up quite a bit in Bowser Party, a 5-player mode in which one person plays as Bowser using the gamepad and attempts to destroy the other 4 players who form Team Mario before they can make it to the end. So here's how it works. For Team Mario, the gameplay is largely similar to the main Mario Party mode, with each player taking turns as captain rolling dice and moving the vehicle along the board. And though their ultimate goal is to make it to the end, in the near term the more pressing objective is to get as far away from Bowser as possible. Because once Team Mario finishes moving, it's then Bowser's turn to roll 4 dice at once to try and catch up. And if he does, a special Bowser minigame will start. Now these Bowser games work a little differently than normal, because there's no true winner or loser per se. Instead, each time Bowser successfully lands an attack on someone, it'll deal damage to that player, which then carries over between the board game and minigames. So once a player runs out of hearts, they're out for good, unless the rest of the team finds some extra hearts somewhere which brings them back to life. It's actually a really cool idea that attempts to build the asynchronous multiplayer scene in Nintendo Land. Unfortunately, the result doesn't quite live up to the promise for a number of reasons. And one of those reasons is the fact that Bowser Party might as well play itself, at least if you're Bowser, because you have almost no influence during the board game portion. You see, Bowser always follows a predetermined path, with the only real variable being the dice roll itself, which of course is entirely random. You don't even get to choose what type of die to use, unlike Team Mario. For the most part, the only time Bowser has any real control is during the minigames themselves. Outside of that, there are only a few instances in which Bowser is provided with a little more to do on the board game, such as choosing where to place booby traps in a set area, or drawing on the screen in an effort to trick the players into choosing the worst prize. And during these times, it can actually be pretty fun to play mind games with your opponents. But these events are exceedingly rare and relatively inconsequential, particularly when the game is sometimes over before you can even get to that point, because the whole mode is so heavily weighted in Bowser's favor. And that's primarily because it's way too easy for Bowser to catch up to Team Mario. You see, because Bowser rolls 4 dice at a time, he can often catch up to Team Mario in a single turn. And that's not even accounting for the fact that Team Mario will often be slowed down in various ways, whether it's getting stuck at a boss, or the fact that they'll be down a dice roll for every team member Bowser takes out. And because it's such a harsh penalty, it's in Bowser's best interest to focus on taking down a single team member at a time in order to take them out as fast as possible, which then greatly compromises the rest of the team. And when that happens, it's pretty much impossible for Team Mario to outrun Bowser since he can outroll them so easily. And it doesn't help that in the event Bowser does roll low enough that he can't catch up, the game will then give him the option to try rolling once more, albeit at the slight risk that he could end up rolling lower. So given all that, you might be wondering just how hard it is for Team Mario to win. Well, out of 4 games I've played with my friends, Team Mario won exactly 0 of them. In fact, one of the games is over in just a couple of turns. So for some strange reason that I can't quite peg, we all enjoyed playing as Bowser a lot more than Team Mario. But on the upside, some of the Bowser Party minigames are actually pretty fun, like Bowser Paintball, where Team Mario has to dodge the pinballs Bowser's hitting around. But here's the catch. There are only 10 Bowser games in total, which means you'll be playing the same ones over and over and over. And when you consider that Bowser Party is only available on 3 boards, all of which are taken from the Mario Party mode by the way, well, it's a mode that's sure to become repetitive in almost every way. Pretty quickly too. With that being said, the mode is fairly novel, and I did have some fun with it. Again, in that dumb fun kind of way. Finally, we have Amiibo Party, in which you play on any one of 10 different boards. That is assuming that you have the supported Amiibo. So if you want to play on all 10, you're going to need 10 different Amiibo. So Amiibo Party actually plays quite a bit differently from the other 2 modes for several reasons. For one, the boards are entirely different, more resembling a Monopoly board than the usual Mario Party ones. Secondly, instead of collecting stars, you're now collecting, well, stars. But different stars! These stars are a lot harder to come by because you need to first reach some on the board and then purchase them at the cost of 20 coins. Coins that you primarily earn by playing minigames that occur after every turn. Now if this sounds familiar, that means you probably played some of the older Mario parties, because it's basically the same, at least in concept. Which is awesome, I mean I love the old Mario parties. But that's about where the similarities end. Because, even though the core gameplay is nearly identical to the original games, the boards themselves are almost entirely linear, again like Monopoly as opposed to Mario Party. I mean there are no alternate paths, no item shops, and really very little of anything of interest at all. Which means that, outside of the minigames, your fate is almost entirely in the hands of luck once again. But even with a potential 10 boards at your disposal, again assuming you have the supported Amiibo, they all play basically the same, with only the occasional board-based minigame changing things up. So the entire mode just feels bland. The boards are about as lifeless as the Amiibo-based game pieces. But the worst thing about it is how you interact with the board game itself. Because every player that dares to use an Amiibo, which means at least one of you, has to scan their Amiibo on the gamepad at least once during every turn in order to roll the dice. Or sometimes even more in order to make certain selections. For no good reason. Especially considering the fact that everyone's already holding a Wii remote anyway. Why can't we just use that? I mean, either everyone has to crowd uncomfortably close around the gamepad to scan in their Amiibo every turn, or you have to pass the gamepad around the room to every player during their turn. Regardless of how you handle it, it really does slow down the pace of what's already a pretty dull game, and ultimately makes it more an exercise in tedium than anything else. And there is really no good reason for this, because outside of finding the very occasional token item, nothing is actually saved to the Amiibo during this time. I honestly have no clue what the developers were thinking. So to wrap things up, Mario Party 10 does try to do some new things, and I admire them for trying. But none of the things it tries to do are done particularly well. Mario Party mode is just a slightly improved version of Mario Party 9 with fewer boards to play on. Bowser Party is novel, but extremely imbalanced and sullied by repetition. And Amiibo Party is just completely baffling. But like I said before, I did have some fun with everything besides Amiibo Party, but not that much fun. And not for that long, which left me feeling pretty mad about the game overall. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Make sure to stay tuned to GameXplain.com for more Mario Party 10 and other things gaming too.